Hello. Um, I am making this video, I hope short, to talk about what I thought of Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. As you can see, I was not really prepared for the movie. Sad, really, but whatever. It happens. Um, I liked it. I liked it. I'm not gonna really say a whole lot. Uh, because I just really wanted to kind of talk about how I know in the past I've made some videos about where I was kind of wondering about Star Wars' future, because while on one hand I'm not huge or overly thrilled with how um, Disney's products, and the sense, or at least in the sense of how the Disney company has become. I don't know. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's just some of them. Some of the films. It's like like those plane movies or something. That was yeah. I don't know. It's like Cars. Did they do that? I think they did that. Let me check real quick. Yep, they did planes. I thought so. Um, Granted, that's just one example, but still, um, that example, that was just something that's like their Cars series made a lot of money. The first two did, and like they wanted to do their own thing. And I know they've bought a bunch of companies, and I think that was really what my big thing was about in the past, like how Disney has bought like Marvel and then Lucasfilm, and how I'm like, why does Disney need to buy all these companies? You know, they have Disney World, Disneyland. Um, they're with Pixar, which they did later buy, which in a way isn't entirely surprising, since they've basically they've released every film that Pixar has produced, so it's not a huge surprise. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of say, despite some of the stuff I've thought of in the past with uh, Disney and their possible involvement, and I know people are like, well, Disney wasn't involved in the Avengers. True. However, just because of they're not involved directly, they're involved in some way, and like I'm sure they'd want to approve of some of the decisions that people are making with the company, and whether those decisions are good or not in the end, kind of to be determined until finished product is out there to the world. One thing I also remember Disney saying was really like George Lucas was not involved in Episode 7. He's just the creative consultant. He was just notified about this and that, maybe for details. Not big details, but just perhaps small, like, well, what do you think of this or that decision? Um, stuff like that. But then Harrison Ford, in an interview, said that George Lucas was involved with the early development of the script, and he also handpicked J.J. Abrams. Like some of the stuff that Disney said, essentially when you read some of that, it's just automatically assumed and flat out telling you George Lucas has nothing to do outside of just being a consultant, which really is like they call him here and they're like, what do you think of this decision or that decision? Do you think that's a good idea or a bad idea? And whatever, however he thinks about that idea, they may take it under advisement, but they're not. That's not going to say they're going to do it. Well, they like George Lucas's idea, but they're going to do something completely different, or they didn't like it, or this or that. Past videos I've said how I wasn't too thrilled and I was iffy with the new films because George Lucas' lack of involvement. But then Harrison Ford saying that he was involved with the early developments of the script and that he picked out the director himself, which to me at least I'm sure obviously Disney let him do that, which is good on Disney. They let him do that. But from the creative, maybe that's what the creative consultant angle may be for them. It was just he helped with the early stages of the script and then he picked the director and that was it. But creative consultant usually, at least I've always understood it as somebody who owned a film or film series or movies, book series or magazines or whatever you could think of that could be have a creative consultant where basically people that own it and are doing whatever with it, they basically just will maybe call them and say, what do you think of this or that? Just to kind of get their input because they used to be the big person of that company or movies, franchise, author, this or that. Like just to see what the person behind the whole idea or product or whatever, like what do they think? And they may never ever use any ideas or suggestions they throw at them, and they may not like an idea they think. Like the person who's making said movie, I'm saying movie, even though I've said it could be something else, but for this instance, let's just say movie. Like they say, George Lucas didn't like an idea that the new people in charge of Lucasfilm and how they're handling essentially his empire, and he doesn't like something they're doing, or maybe something they did, and he wants to say something about it. To them, it's like, well, thank you for telling us how you feel, George, and that's it. That's how I always thought a creative consultant is, where they talk to the person who owned whatever property it was that the person had, in this case, film company and films. And then they are notified and talked to about this decision or that decision, and then based off of that, they then go, well, I don't really like that idea per se. What I would do would be go into their spiel, or they like the idea and encourage them to keep going forward with it. They may not do it, that because perhaps he may think that there's something potential for the somewhat story of, at least if they talk to him about the story and how they're going. Maybe he likes them and they thought, you can go forward with that in this film or in the next, and they may never do that. I know this is getting off topic. I was supposed to say my thoughts on Star Wars 7, but really I don't want to do spoilers because there's some stuff that happens in this film that is pretty shocking. Like, it's very... It's like, wow. Like, you didn't really... It's like, well, you did see it coming in a way, but maybe there's something in you like, well, maybe it will be different or whatever. Like, whatever I think will happen, it'll be different in this situation or that situation. And yeah, because it's brand new, and I saw it. Now it's hours later. It's 1:40 now. I saw it yesterday, Tuesday, December 17th at 8:30, and it was amazing. It was very, very good. You know, I've seen people like it redeems the Star Wars legacy and saga, but I'm one of those people that likes the prequels. I know some hate the prequels with a passion, which is, I'm like, you don't like the prequels, okay, got it. But why do you hate it so much? Where you just, because some of the people, they just talk about it constantly, which makes you think you're kind of obsessed with this subject because of how passionate you get when you talk about it. And some people, they frequently talk about it, and it's just like, you hate this thing, so you're talking about it. Doesn't really make sense in a way. Maybe it does. But yeah, The Force Awakens was very, very good. There's speculations that I know about, like, who's Supreme Leader Snoke? Where's Luke Skywalker? Yeah, he's omitted from the posters, trailers, this and that. But I have to say it was very, very good. And I liked it. I thought it fits with Return of the Jedi. That happy ending. Things are explained, obviously, with what happened between the 30-year gap. Like, there's an explanation of what happened afterwards. Like, yeah, things are explained, which is good. That way, there's not this big question like, what happened? Like, because there would be answers needed. Like, since we're not seeing some events after the 30, like the 30-year gap, we're not seeing really anything that happened during that time. You're just told it. The characters talk about it. Interesting how amazing the whole Luke Skywalker is a myth angle that J.J. Abrams, I read in the paper, talked about how it was very interesting. When I read it, I thought, he's a myth. And then when I saw the movie, it makes sense. Yeah, I know I've kind of rambled on about this. It's supposed to be my thoughts on Star Wars 7, which I just said I liked it. I thought it was good. And it was an amazing experience. I thought it was cool. yeah, it was amazing. If you love Star Wars or like Star Wars in any way, go watch this film. Obviously, you will, but if you're somebody that had some concerns about it, I know some people did with Disney owning Star Wars now, which I think is why I kind of talked about that. I just wanted to address some of the things I've said that despite uh, them owning Star Wars, Lucasfilm, they you know, they did a they did a very good job of handling this project. I will say I missed hearing and seeing the 20th Century Fox logo and theme because that's a part of Star Wars, and I really wished Disney could have made a deal with 20th Century Fox. I understand why they didn't do it, but still, it's one of those things that when you're a kid who grew up on Star Wars, or even just somebody who likes Star Wars, as a Star Wars fan in general, maybe they were an adult when they first saw Star Wars, and they just like and love Star Wars since. You come accustomed to associating Star Wars with 20th Century Fox, and just to see that part not there anymore, it's a little odd, uh, but it was the movie was great. Regardless of that, it was very good, excellent. I saw it with my mother because, well, my mom and I have always seen Star Wars since 1999 when I was 5 years old. We've always gone to the theater to see Star Wars, and I've seen all the Star Wars prequels multiple times in the theater. I'm very confident I will see this again. I'm going to see it next week with my brother-in-law, and brother-in-law's brother, who essentially is like a brother to me. Uh, Before our family ever became one family, because my sister and brother-in-law marrying, it's like this is the way we all interacted with each other. It's like we were already family anyway. But then I also want to mention something else. I got there's this. I posted this thing on Facebook where there's 4 different 3D glasses you could buy. Uh, I saw Spectre earlier or last month, and I bought a pair, which are Stormtrooper 3D glasses, which I wore and watched throughout the movie. And then there's like the B-88 glasses, Captain. What is her name? The captain's name. Hold on. I can't find her name. The female stormtrooper leader. Her name escapes me, and I just went to Wikipedia. I don't know why I went there. IMDb link here. Yes, there is. Captain Phasma. Yeah, that's her name. They had glasses with her eyes there. And then Stormtrooper. It's B-88, and then Kylo Ren. So those are the four different pairs of glasses they had. And I posted worst Star Wars ever. It was so bad. I bought all four different pairs of 3D glasses they had, and will only see it on the big screen 20 more times. It's essentially, I was just being sarcastic, like, oh, this movie was terrible. I'm only going to watch it again in theaters, like 20 more times, 50 more times. You know, it's just some big number to see a movie in theaters. You know, that'd be a lot to see Star Wars. And that also comes from people saying The Phantom Menace is the worst Star Wars movie ever, and yet people went back to see it. I've even seen some videos where people said, you know, I watched that movie many times in the theater, and you know, they like the first time they just didn't know what to think. Like, on one hand, it's Star Wars and it's new, but they didn't necessarily like it. But then, you know, they kind of had that feeling, but they wanted to just make sure the thing. But then they kept going back, which always baffled me as to why. If I can understand perhaps seeing a second time to see if your feeling was true, or maybe you thought I was wrong. I just need to see it again. That way, my perspective in that film is different, or it is the same. You know, just get clarification, just to clarify your feeling, basically. Clarification. I don't know if that's a word. I always use that word, but basically, I wrote that and took a picture of all the 3D glasses in their packaging with my 3D glasses. And I wore out of the package as well as my ticket. And just to say it was just terrible. You know, I bought all the glasses they were selling, and I'm going to see the movie again. That's how terrible it was. And somebody actually thought, maybe they thought I was serious, because they said, please tell me this is sarcasm, because I thought the movie was awesome. And I was like, yeah, that is sarcastic. I am being sarcastic. Because I'm like, you know, you don't, yeah, just based off of what I wrote, just should in a way be enough. But I had a feeling there'd be somebody on Facebook that would think that was being serious when I wasn't. I love this movie. I love Star Wars. I love all of the films, the prequels included. Yes, they're not better than the original trilogy, but I do like them. I have my reasons. Main ones, the story is well done and connects to the original trilogy, and you know, it sucks that we'll have to wait 2 years for episode 8, because between now and 2017, we'll have a spin-off, Star Wars Rogues. I wonder how that movie will be. I, you know, hope it's good. You know, I did no real research or looking at information of this movie, because I'm like, I wanted to be completely surprised and take it as for what it is. Obviously, when I first saw Phantom Menace, I was 5, so I wouldn't really have done research. I mean, there's some magazine stuff I got that I did read, but not a whole lot. And even though episodes 2 and 3, I could have, you know, a whole wealth of the internet and all that, even more than 1999, you could have looked about this and that of Star Wars here, Star Wars there, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. Oh, what's going to happen? I didn't do that because to me, if I did that, I would have prepped myself so much that I would have been disappointed if at least some of the things that I built up so much in my mind, because you know your imagination could be so huge uh, for something like this. And to me, I'm like, if I did that, I would have been completely disappointed because nothing is as good as your imagination. Your imagination will make things better than they ever possibly could be before you ever see a movie that's anticipated or anything really. You know, you build your mind, you build something up so much, you're going to be disappointed. Um, so I decided against really looking into how the film was made, any key plot points. I just wanted to go in completely really blind with the very few essentials that basically everybody would know for like just general news, like Mark Hamill is Luke Skywalker, Harrison Ford, Han Solo, Carrie Fisher is Princess Leia. Um, Again, and yeah, like that was how what they were talking about at the very beginning. Like, the main cast is back. That was a big selling point. So yeah, those are my thoughts of Force Awakens, which really, I have to say, this title was uh, kind of misleading because it really didn't show a whole lot of my thoughts except for being really good. Well, I guess that was my thought. It was good. It was great. Excellent, if you will. I'll have to see this movie many more times. I'm not saying I'll go to the theater multiple times. I'm gonna, you know, review it because to me, it's hard to pick my favorite Star Wars movie. Star Wars, I always say that's my favorite film. When I say that, I mean the entire saga because it's all one movie, really. When you look at it, it's a one big story. Now the story is continuing, or and then there will be, you know, 2 more movies, and I'm pretty sure there'll be 3 more movies after the next 2 are made. Because George Lucas originally planned this to be a 12-part series, but he did the first 6 himself by being very heavily involved in the behind the scenes, like even Empire and Jedi. He came to the set to see how things were going and would help out if asked. But now he's able to relax, and he himself said he's able to see Star Wars because he's never been able to see Star Wars before now. Now that he doesn't own it and he has no real part of it except being credited as the creator as well as being the consultant, he has really nothing involved with Star Wars anymore. So he gets to see it the way we do. And I think that's cool. He's able to see, in a way, see what we see. He appreciates Star Wars in a way we never can, unless we were involved in the behind the scenes or making of it somehow. You know, we can't really appreciate the way George Lucas does because it's so different. But now he's able to appreciate the way we do, and that's cool. And yeah, it was very good. It was very exciting to see Star Wars on the big screen because the last The last one was 10 years ago. Um, well, if you count the Clone Wars, that film that came out, the animated one, which, for what it is and for essentially being the pilot of the Clone Wars series, it's pretty good. But if you actually take it to see it as high standard as the first 6 films, you're gonna be kind of be like, yes, and that, and you know, I watch that. I look at it through like just very very long Star Wars Clone Wars episode, which is essentially what it was supposed to be, like 3 or 4 episodes put together for one movie. And so that was all right. But yeah, for seeing Star Wars 10 years after Revenge of the Sith is really cool. I can't wait to see what the next one will be like, and I hope it'll be just as good as this one, if not better. So yeah. While I did have my doubts of Disney owning this, because some of the things they've done, with shutting down LucasArts and canceling some games and canceling the Clone Wars, there were some reasons one might be hesitant of trusting Disney with Star Wars, but the end product I thought was good. It was very good, and yeah. So my opinions over the years of Disney owning Lucasfilm have lessened, I guess, now that I've seen the new Star Wars movie. Like worrying wise, like I hope they don't do this or that, because there are many people like that. They were just afraid of what could possibly happen, because owning something like Star Wars has a lot of potential, but also has the potential of just going really fast. Like, yeah, opening night, you'll get a whole lot of business because it's Star Wars, and Star Wars makes a lot of money. But then if it didn't deliver, well, it still makes a lot of money. Yeah. People say, "Oh, well, Star Wars sucked," or the prequels. Oh, prequels suck, and yet they were like the huge dominating forces of their respective years. Well, I heard at the end, like Spider-Man was #1 in 2002. Attack of the Clones was #2. I think that's because superhero movies were really starting to get very very popular again, and the first Spider-Man movie was very very cool. I saw it. I saw that once though in the theater. Attack of the Clones I saw more times in the theater, but yeah. So either way, even if this movie blew and was just terrible, it was gonna make a lot of money no matter what. Because yeah, I just really really like this movie. I mean, I could talk about this endlessly, but I'm like, I don't want to spoil it for anybody because it just came out. Really, just today is the day, and I don't want to ruin this for anybody who is a film fan, a Star Wars fan, or anybody that would just like to see a science fiction fantasy film. that has also seen the first 6 Star Wars movies, because I think you really should. I marathoned them all before this film, and even though I know them through and through, being a huge Star Wars fan, I just rewatched them again that way. I'd be very, 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 very familiar of how that one ended, and now let's see where this one takes us for this new journey. And in a way, I actually hope they do 5 more, because at least then they'll be very true to George Lucas's original version. Because I've seen a lot of people like, well, there's only supposed to be 9 films, 3 trilogies. When I've heard from Mark Hamill's mouth in an interview from the 70s, where he said that he was talking to George Lucas, and he basically were talking about the next films, and he said, well, this is actually 1, or this one we're doing here is actually 4, and then next 2 films are 5 and 6, and then 10 years after the last one will make 1, 2, and 3, and then bring you back to do 7 to carry it to, be like an Obi-Wan kind of character and mentoring Jedis and whatnot, and then the new characters can take over from there. That was what Mark Hamill said with George Lucas envisioning Star Wars to be, which was 12 films. Yeah. I mean, obviously, that was what was the 70s. Obviously, things have changed since then, but really, just see this movie because it's really good and it's worth it. See the first 6 Star Wars films too, because they're really good. Even though people say the prequels suck, I think if you go in with an open mind and haven't seen them, you'll be entertained at the very least, I would feel. Or maybe not. Maybe Star Wars isn't a movie for you if you haven't seen it. And if you do watch them, you watch 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3 that way. There's a surprise that happens in the original trilogy that if you watch 1 through 3 first, the surprise is ruined. But yeah, that was it. This was supposed to be a very quick video, and obviously, like everything else I say, it's very quick. It is not. It wasn't quick. Yep, that's it. Those are my thoughts of Star Wars Episode 7 and how I felt about Disney owning Lucasfilm then and now. Yeah, great film. Disney didn't screw anything up. Like, I know they are the owners, but as an owner, you would want to at least be in the loop of certain things of what's going on when you I own this. I'm not letting other people take care of that, but I also want to know what's going on. That would make sense to me, and they could also intervene if they don't think that would work. Yeah, they did a very good job handling this, and I hope this continues. So, good work to everybody that's involved with this film. Disney and George Lucas, your legacy still lives on. It is in good hands. So, good job, everybody involved. May the Force be with you.